I'm joined now from Sydney, Australia by Adam Hancock. And Adam, what happens in the US usually affects the rest of the world. Australia's central bank just a few days ago hiked their interest rates for the first time since 2010. What are the reasons behind this?
Well, much like in the US, there are major concerns here about inflation at the moment. The inflation rate in Australia is at its highest point in 21 years now, up over 5%. And like many other countries, they're also suffering from a cost of living crisis as well. And the Reserve Bank of Australia, in raising interest rates, they said they basically had very little option of what else to do, and they're preparing people for more imminent raising of rates as well. This, of course, comes at the middle of a general election campaign here in Australia, and Prime Minister Scott Morrison has campaigned mainly about the Australian economy and how strong it has been and how well they have done during the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic. So raising interest rates is somewhat of an unwelcome distraction for him. He has tried to brush it off. He's saying it's not a political issue. It's nothing to do with him. He's blaming it on outside factors, including the lockdowns in China and the war in Ukraine. But obviously the opposition Labour Party, well, they're using it as an opportunity to attack the government, claiming that they have plunged the country economically into a cost of living crisis. So here in Australia, like many countries around the world, people really having to tighten their belts at the moment, facing rising prices, increasing inflation and interest rates rising.
Well, just give us a snapshot of how this is actually all impacting consumers in Australia. Are they seeing food prices go up? I know in several cities, big cities especially, it's very expensive to live there, especially when it comes to the housing market.
Yes. The housing market is really suffering at the moment, and daily cost of living prices, they're all going up. You notice it in restaurants, you notice it in supermarkets. You really day to day see the cost of living crisis playing out in front of your eyes. Petrol prices have been extremely high here at the moment. Obviously, the war in Ukraine has rose oil prices, and you've seen that at the pumps here in Australia. The budget, which came out before the election, a lot of measures were put out to try and quell these issues, including the cap on oil prices, but they cannot shake it at the moment, especially given this interest rate rise. There's also a major issue at the moment of labour shortages here in Australia. When the borders were closed during the pandemic, foreign workers couldn't come and work here. Many people come on working holiday visas. That all dried up during COVID. So lots of jobs, particularly in the industries like restaurants, bars, hotels, tourism, they haven't got the staff that they used to, so there's plenty of staff shortages. Of course, as well, the pandemic is still ongoing here, and many people having to isolate because of the COVID restrictions that remain in Australia. So there's a real cost of living crisis, but also a real labour shortage as well, and the two are combining for a bit of an economic nightmare at the moment.
And that economic nightmare being felt in so many parts of the world right now. Adam Hancock, thank you so much. Live to us there from Sydney.